There are plenty of movie tropes, but one oft-used but rarely referenced is the shot in the buttocks trope. Comedies are typically where this technique resides because, let's face it, of all the places to get shot, there's nothing quite as funny as the cheeks or the tops of the legs, as by Stan, Rob Reiner, from The Story of Us. So let's list some of the best films that employ this terror to the tail. Several people mention Mel Brooks's 1974 classic spoof of westerns, Blazing Saddles. The movie pairs actors Gene Wilder as Jim, aka Waco Kid, and Cleavon Little as Bart. While chatting, Jim discloses how he went from the Waco Kid to a common drunk. Gunman after gunman wrote it to challenge Jim, until one day, he turned and saw his challenger was a 6-year-old boy. Ignoring the danger, Jim tossed his guns aside and turned away only to take a bullet to the posterior. Then, he walked into a saloon for whiskey and never put the bottle down. Bad Boys May 2nd not exude the unforgettable quality of its predecessor, but many folks recall the friendly fire to the caboose. When black narcotic officers Mike Lowry, Will Smith, and Marcus Burnett, Martin Lawrence, wind up in a shootout against the KKK, an epic slow-mo shot occurs as Mike fires at one of the racist men. The bullet's trajectory reaches its target, but not before clipping Marcus. Indelibly burned into viewers' memory banks, the up-close view of Marcus's pain and horror is forever comical. Adam Sandler's comedies were always filled with over-the-top nonsensical stories but still side-splitting comical. For example, in Billy Madison's climax, the villainous Eric, Bradley Whitford, sets his vengeful sights on Billy's, Adam Sandler, love interest Veronica, Bridget Wilson Sampras, only to receive lead to the Tushy from Rifleman Danny, Steve Buscemi. Shot can mean more than bullets. As movie fans point out, in 10 Things I Hate About You, the gym teacher takes an arrow to the derriere at the hands of an easily distracted teen, Bianca, Larina Olinik, practicing archery. Here the laughs lie in the teacher's pained howls as second fiddle in the background as the angsty drama unfolds in the foreground. Others recalled a scene in Dances with Wolves that is by no means funny but gruesome. In it, Timmons, Robert Pastorelli, receives an arrow to the rear as a precursor to his execution by the Pawnee. It takes a lot of arrows and a scalping till Timmons draws his last breath. One of the more recent but no less memorable moments, several people cited, is in Deadpool when the titular character, Ryan Reynolds, gets into a shootout on the bridge while searching for Francis. As he's gunning down enemies while delivering snarky clips, he takes gunfire to the Bahuki, barely slowing him down. Another unforgettable fanny fire moment many moviegoers recalled is in Wedding Crashers. As Jeremy, Vince Vaughn, and John, Owen Wilson, are out hunting in the woods, a trigger-happy sack, Bradley Cooper, decides to scare them. But rather than firing near them, he rained buckshot on Jeremy's booty. The hilarity of the moment is why many posters mention Training Day. In a tense film about a crooked cop, Alonzo, Denzel Washington, and his new partner, Jake, Ethan Hawke, the climax, when Jake confronts and stops Alonzo's criminal schemes, allows viewers to release that tension through surprised laughter. As Alonzo reaches for the gun, despite Jake threatening to shoot him, Jake plugs one in his coaster to the audience's and Alonzo's disbelief. Forrest Gump's most famous moment isn't when Forrest, Tom Hanks, takes a slug to his sit-upon, but the moment after the president awards him a medal and says he'd like to see that. Then, in front of camera crews, Forrest drops true and shows America and the president the proof of his sacrifice. You can't help but laugh and smile at his innocence. While arguably a cheat, since this isn't a person who gets lead to the tush, it is hilariously burned into viewers' minds. In The Great Outdoors, a famed bald-headed bear attacks the cabin where Roman, Dan Aykroyd, and Chet's, John Candy, families reside for vacation. As Roman tries to defend his family and Chet rambles in shock, Savior Wally, Robert Prosky, arrives with a fully loaded shotgun lamp and shoots the enormous bear in the rear, blowing away all his hair. As the raccoons discuss later, he's bald at both ends. Now, source, Reddit. Who is one actress you can never stand watching, no matter their role? After polling the internet, these were the top voted actresses that people couldn't stand watching. 10 actresses people despise watching regardless of their role. We've all heard the famous adage that no publicity is bad publicity, and while it tends to be accurate, there are certainly exceptions. But what about those few stars who stay out of the limelight and get along without a hint of trouble? These 7 celebrities are genuinely good people. Have you ever known someone and thought you liked them, until you learned about their hobbies? Then you get to know them and then you're like, wow, red flag. Well, you're not alone. These 10 activities are an immediate red flag. Some celebrities definitely seem to enjoy the limelight and keep working to stay in the public eye, while others quickly move out of the spotlight. Many of these actors and actresses stepped out of the spotlight to live a more private life without constant media pressures. 10 celebrities that made the big times then disappeared off the face of the earth. We've all been there, sitting through a movie that we can't help but cringe at, but somehow it still manages to hold a special place in our hearts. These 10 terrible movies are still people's favorites.